So I overheard and told the kid, don't listen to this man. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then the guy told me, how old are you, Solar Star-Lord? Be able to conceptualize, like, are you 12? Fucking 12-year-old running in, like, yo, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. Or are you like 40? Or are you like 25? Or like 31 and a half? I don't know. And then the guy told me, well, I'm way older than you, so I know what I'm talking about. Oh, Solar Star-Lord, I'm not reading far enough down. He's 21. Okay, he's 21. The guy's got almost double experience than you do. I mean, I'm not saying it's very fulfilling experience, and I'm not saying he's lived the most productive life if at 40, dude, this guy's older than I am. If at 40, and he can't, this is the other thing that you can get away with saying, like, oh, a 70-year-old, he's 70, he doesn't know any better. It's like, okay, maybe, but this guy's 40. The internet's been around mid 90s. This guy was like, what, maybe in his 20s back then. There's no excuse for not knowing how to use a computer. All right, if you're in your 20s and you're in the 90s, like, how many people who are 40 today that don't know how to use a computer? Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Like, there's no excuse unless this guy's been like hiding under a rock or some shit. Like, what are you doing? Anyways, to continue. So I told the kid the sun doesn't orbit around the earth. Just listen to this. Fucking, it's 2017 and we got 21-year-olds having to explain to 16-year-olds that the sun doesn't orbit around the earth. I blame the education system, maybe. I mean, Solar Star-Lord, tell me about this kid. Was he genuinely buying into this guy? First of all, was the 40-year-old presenting a convincing argument? Like, did he just come out and say, oh, blah, blah, blah? Or did he actually, like, break that shit down, like, sound super convincing, and, like, he was messing with the 60-year-old's head, kind of like predatory behavior, but, like, mentally, right? He's trying to scientifically prey on this fucker, right? Use big words that no one understands. Like, we all know those fuckers. We all know those guys. Second of all, if I find it hard to believe that, like, a high school student would not fucking know that shit. And if so, like, Jesus, what the hell is going on with the education system? Like, are you kidding me right now? But the Earth orbits around the sun, and it doesn't take a month. It takes 365 days. He thanked me and walked away. God damn it. I hope he has There's two things in play here. Maybe this is like an Amish kid, and he doesn't have, like, access to Google or some shit. Like, he just can't, like, find out this stuff for himself. Or the 40-year-old was like, it's all a big conspiracy, motherfucker. Google's in on it. NASA, goddamn flat Earth. They're all lying to you. They're all lying. Trust me, I'm 40. I've been around. I learned shit in the 40 years that I've been here that no other human in history has figured out. And the kid didn't know because all they know is mostly Call of Duty and FIFA. Oh, it's one of those kids. Jesus. You know what that kid's going to be when he gets into college? If they get into college or university, they're going to... maybe the kid was just like, yeah, leave me alone. And he was just kind of like brushing it off like, I want this conversation to end. So he's just like, yeah, okay. Maybe that was... I mean, personally, if I was in that position, that's probably what I would do. I'd be like... Because I don't want to start shit with my coach, Like, if I start shit with my coach, right, he might, like, bench me. Or like... You don't want to have an unfavorable image in the eyes of your coach. So maybe the kid was just like, all right, whatever. Okay, coach. Okay. And then after he turned around, it's like, what a goddamn idiot. I can understand for like a random 40-year-old, but this guy's responsible for fucking kids. Like, this is even worse. Like, you're a goddamn educator. I don't care if you're a goddamn coach. You're supposed to be a role model, and you're not supposed to be filling these people's heads with bullshit. I'll save you, little kid. The sun does not fucking rotate around the earth. Bam, I am your god now. Look to me for knowledge. It's sad that is the bar that has been set. The fucking minimal amount of knowledge that you need to have to look like a goddamn superstar in society these days. It's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. I've been studying, like, I hated science when I was in school. I fucking hated school altogether. Like, I just milked through, just coasted as much as I could. I barely scraped through. And I actually tried in college. Then after I left college, here's like a weird thing that happened to me is I got fascinated with like space and science and shit. So like, and luckily like YouTube and shit and like the internet was a thing. So I filled my every free second. When I was not at work, like during my 20s, every free second of my life, I would sit in front of the computer, drink, and like look at documentaries and shit about absolutely everything, like psychology, fighting, anatomy, space, cosmos, galaxies, fucking stars, chemistry, everything to do with science, mathematics, physics. I would literally sit there and watch entire lectures from like MIT and shit. They post all that shit on YouTube. Just I got like a goddamn master's degree in like a bunch of shit. I just don't have the piece of paper, right? And here we are. While I'm learning, while I'm elevating my knowledge of all this shit, society, government, geopolitics, everything you can possibly imagine, I'm fucking just sponging that shit in, right? To this day, every day, right? And meanwhile, the rest of society is going backwards. It's just like, so I'm going to be in 5 years, I'm going to be a goddamn messiah. Did you know that we're the third planet from the sun? Mic drop. Bam! Give it a little bit of time. Wait for fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye to kick the bucket, while they're getting up there in age, right? And then slowly, as the last remnants of fucking society and like common sense just whittles away, all of a sudden Mr. YouTube over here, Mr. Master's degree in like almost every field because of all this goddamn knowledge, lacking the piece of paper, steps in and says, hey, guess what? Let's just put things in perspective. Let's say this is the surface of the earth right here, right? And the moon is like the top of my head. The International Space Station is like in orbit. It's maybe a millimeter off the surface of this goddamn wallet. That's how fucking far we've gone into space, all right? And you want to tell me that the earth is fucking flat? You can't prove that shit. We've barely gone into space. The furthest we've gone in the moon is the moon, and that's a fucking accomplishment. Can you imagine? What do they say? It's if the earth was the size of an orange, the ISS is in orbit like maybe a millimeter off the surface of that orange. And it's goddamn in orbit. Somehow it's escaped the gravity. Well, gravity's not that strong of a force, but like it's not up there. It's not like the orange and then the ISS is like out here and it's like spinning like that. It's not that fucking far away. That's how far the moon is. All right, the ISS is it's like fucking practically kissing the surface of the earth in comparison, right? We're talking about distances here, all right? You bust that knowledge on somebody today and you're a fucking god. They'll be like, holy shit, mind blown, post all over Reddit. Like, they'll just shit their pants. Did you hear about this? It was in the news, the campfire. It was like a father and then his son, and his son brought his girlfriend and they went camping. I think it was the girlfriend. It was the daughter or whatever. The son's girlfriend. She started fucking talking to the guy about flat Earth, and the guy got so fucking angry. They were arguing. The dad and the guy's girlfriend, the son's girlfriend. She started like, I don't know if she was trolling or what happened, but she kept fucking like pushing this guy, and she's like, it's flat, right? And like that bullshit, like all those arguments that the flat earthers have, like they have all these like convincing arguments, like just no shortage of them, no shortage. And she just kept going and going, probably on her phone, just pulling them up right off the internet. And the dad got so fucking angry, like I think he was arrested. Like he started throwing shit. He like fucking like lit a huge fire and like started throwing shit into the fire. Like they called the cops. He was like arrested for like domestic assault or domestic violence or some shit like that. Probably drinking. I mean, they were fucking camping, right? So alcohol is probably involved. But it's just like, holy fuck, like it's sad when like a little kid can get you so riled up. The guy who doesn't know what orbits around what. I was actually thinking, after our conversation last time, maybe he just fucked up, because the way you wrote it, it sounded like instead of, he wanted to say the moon and he said sun by accident or some shit. Because it's like the sun orbits the earth once every month or whatever. It's like, well, are you sure you didn't mean to say moon? I don't know. It's super sketchy. I was like, I don't know. Maybe there's no way a 40-year-old, even a coach, is that retarded. Like, he's been around for longer than the internet, right? So it's not like he's being influenced by these internet fuckers. Maybe he is now, but it's like, he should be smart enough to be like, yeah. Is he actually a flat earther? Or did he just fuck up and say sun by accident instead of moon? Because it seems like like one word would change that entire fucking statement or conversation. It's like, but how the fuck do you fuck up a star and a goddamn satellite around a planet, which the moon is? I was just wondering, right? I was wondering to myself, like, maybe he fucked up and said sun by accident. But then I thought, it's a pretty big fuck up. Like, how do you confuse the goddamn moon and the sun? I don't know. You know what I learned the other day? I was watching Joe Rogan. He was talking to this guy who's like, the guy who developed Tony Hawk back in the 90s. He made a bunch of money, he retired. So now what he does is he debunks stuff. Anyway, they're talking about a bunch of stuff, and eventually they got into like the size of the moon. And Joe Rogan's like, why does the moon look bigger when it's like on the horizon versus like if it's straight up in the sky? I was about to say in my mind, which I'm pretty sure is still correct, it's because the lensing of the atmosphere makes it appear bigger. But Buddy, Mr. Tony Hawk retired motherfucker, debunker, is like, it's an optical illusion. If you take a picture of the moon above and the moon when it's like on the horizon, when it's big, they're actually pretty much the same size, maybe slightly bigger, but when you put the pictures side by side, they're actually the same size. I'm like, are you sure? Are you fucking sure, buddy? I think you might want to say it's a fucking lensing effect because of the atmosphere, like it's a magnification. But I don't know, like it could be a combination of both, because like if you ask like a dude like fucking like a physicist, right, like a scientist, they'd be like, it's lensing, right? It's the same as your glasses, right? The atmosphere bends the light and magnifies it, makes it look bigger because the curvature. Makes sense. But I don't know if it's just that or if it's that as well as the moon is actually not much different. I should just do that. I should go outside, take a picture with my phone, and then when the moon's like a blood moon or a super moon, take a picture of that shit and just compare the two. Maybe it's an optical illusion. I have no idea. It's something I was not aware of that I was made aware of yesterday, which happens very rarely. Like, things surprise me very rarely these days. I was surprised to hear, and like this guy's, his career, he's making his career off of debunking, right? So I would expect for him to know his shit, which, you know, everything else he's pretty much been correct about in terms of like debunking. When he said that, I was like, are you sure? I gotta fucking test this shit out. Because it seems like you're being serious. Maybe it's just a combination of the two. But I up until yesterday, I was like 100% convinced that it was only the lensing. It was only the curvature of the atmosphere, and it just bends the light so it makes it look bigger, which is technically an optical illusion. Yes, we can say that. Well, I'm not talking about comparing the sun and the moon together. I'm just talking about a horizon moon and a straight up above you moon, or whatever, like a full moon, a regular full moon. But yeah, pretty sure the sun is quite bigger than the moon. You know, I do realize the moon's closer, but I've never really compared the two because I didn't stare directly into the sun. Who the fuck would do that? Trump, pictures all over the internet. I'm a boss. I'm gonna fucking stare right into this motherfucker. Get out of here. I mean, he didn't go blind, which, Jesus, like, I don't know if he was just faking it and like looking slightly off, but making it look like he was looking into the sun. Because then you see in the picture, the CIA guys or the Secret Service guys are like grabbing him. They're like, "Don't look, motherfucker, don't look!" And people took pictures of it. They're just like, "Stop looking!" And he's just like, "Fuck off, I'm looking." He probably didn't, like, he can't be that stupid. He probably just looked like slightly off to the side. Or maybe he looked through his bushy eyebrows to just, you know what I'm saying? Just mask it a little bit. I was watching, I was like, okay, something I didn't know. The moon is actually the exact same size. It's an optical illusion. But the question, as I would like to repeat it in yet another way, is it strictly because of the lensing effect of the atmosphere, or is it a combination of that? Like it's actually a lensing and the fact that it is actually the same size. It's barely noticeable, but it's an optical illusion that it's bigger, not as a result of the lensing, but just because it's closer to the horizon. That's what he was saying. He's like, because it's so close to the horizon and you see everything in perspective to where the moon is, if it's straight in the sky, there's nothing around it to compare it to. So you're just like, oh, it's super small. But it's actually the exact same size when it's close to the horizon, but it just looks bigger because the horizon's there. You can compare it to other shit, right? So is it strictly that? Because this guy didn't mention anything about lensing. He didn't mention anything about the curvature of the atmosphere or bending of light. He didn't mention that at all. And I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm sitting there. I'm waiting for him to say it. And I'm like, come on, it's lensing. Come on. But he didn't say it. Maybe he just missed it. I don't know. I would love to read the comments on that podcast and see how many people like jumped in and like, oh, timestamp this. Lensing, motherfucker, lensing. You missed it. And then he probably got fucked on Twitter. The kind of shit that tickles my fancy on a daily basis. You want to get into that conversation? Dude, here's who I follow. Here's the shit I follow on YouTube. The Rubin Report, Jordan Peterson, Gad Sad, fucking Joe Rogan, and all those fuckers that have been on Joe Rogan, like Rhonda Patrick for the health. Gotta take care of the health, right? If you don't know who that is, get on that. Sargon of Akkad. All these products of the system that didn't need to exist, but now they exist. Because we need these people to fucking exist and have common sense. Sebastian Junger, Tribe, sick book.